So the Silverstone circuit, first built back in 1948. 48 years it is now since our first British Grand Prix here back in 1977. The first ever Grand Prix to take place on the British mainland. The 15th British Grand Prix here in this part of England's East Midlands. What more can you say about this wonderful venue? It's super fast, sweeping sections, certainly a physically demanding circuit, lots of change of direction, lots of hard braking, particularly in a turn 15 at the end of the Hanger Straight. 6, 9 and 15 are the most challenging braking points around this 5.9 kilometre layout. Overtaking hotspots, plenty of them. In that first sector, turn 3 and 4, this was Enea Bastianini and Jorge Martin locking horns for the victory last August. So, 13 days ago, in front of MotoGP's biggest ever weekend crowd, it was the French Grand Prix at Le Mans, with rain falling just before the start of the 26-lap race. Whole host of riders having to take double long lap penalties. Drama at turn 3 as Pecco Bagnaia and Joan Mir went down after a mistake by Enea Bastianini. Almost involved in that tangle was eventual race winner Johan Zarco. Fabio Quartararo crashed out of victory contention in front of his heartbroken home crowd as a series of riders swap bikes from slicks back onto rain tyres. But after a truly remarkable 26 laps, for the first time in 71 years, the French fans celebrated one of their own winning in the Premier class on home turf. And those French fans, well, they've been pretty happy with what they've seen so far on Sprint Saturday here at Silverstone. It's the Tissot Grand Prix of the United Kingdom, and for the third race in succession, Fabio Quartararo's Q2 hot streak rolls on in cool conditions. Nobody hotter around this Silverstone circuit than the factory Yamaha start. For the third race in a row, backing up brilliant poles in Jerez and in Le Mans, where he set all-time lap records. Fabio Quartararo was at it again this morning, and yet another thrilling Q2 session over 15 minutes, which saw the 26-year-old Frenchman set a 1:57.233, a third successive all-time lap record and a third successive pole position to boot here in Britain for Quartararo. 3 poles in a row for him for the first time in 4 years, going all the way back to Le Mans, Mugello and Catalunya in 2021, the year he went on, of course, to win the World Championship that year. On a front row which features Alex Marquez second in all 6 sprints so far this year. Alex has had a tough Saturday so far. Big crash this morning at Stowe Corner. Turn 15 briefly brought out the red flags. He'll be a little bit battered and bruised. A front row which also features double MotoGP World Champion Pecco Bagnaia. Just the third front row start of the season for the Italian, and for the first time in red, the first time in a factory Ducati, Marc Marquez not starting on that front row. First time he's off the front row in 8 Grand Prix since Malaysia last year. But let's not forget, Marc Marquez comes into this 7th sprint of the season looking to preserve a 100% unbeaten record on Sprint Saturdays. We've had 6 sprints so far in 2025, and he has won the lot. 4th place on the grid, though, for Marc Marquez, who's done so much front running in our sprint so far this season. Fabio Quartararo did lead briefly on the first lap of the sprint in Jerez. He led the first 4 or 5 laps, didn't he, in front of his home crowd in Le Mans a couple of weeks ago. But when all's said and done, at the checkered flag, it still has been Marc Marquez that has prevailed. Welcome one and all to a rather cool and cloudy Silverstone circuit, but thankfully for the time being it is still dry. Let's hope it stays the case, as we're 25 minutes away from lights out for the 10-lap sprint here at Silverstone. Matt Burton, Lewis Sutterby in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Lewis, we've known for the last couple of Grand Prix that Yamaha has found some serious one-lap pace after Fabio Quartararo's brilliant pole laps in Jerez and Le Mans, and the show rolls on once again here at Silverstone. Another absolutely breathtaking performance by the rider on our screens right now.
quite possibly is best yet from Fabio Quartararo. Of course, the home pole position would have meant so much to Fabio Quartararo, but to take pole position by such a margin yesterday, 0.3 of a second clear this morning, should I say, of course, of Alex Marquez. First time he's taken a hat-trick of pole positions in 4 years. It's becoming almost expected now from Fabio Quartararo. The question, of course, though, now from a Yamaha point of view is, can they translate this into some Saturday afternoon or Sunday success? The words from Yamaha suggest that they feel they've got half a chance. Quartararo starting from a front row, which for the first time this year does not have Marc Marquez on it. And
probably the third time this year in our 7 Grand Prix it will feature 28-year-old Italian Pecco Bagnaia, 2022 British Grand Prix winner, of course. Third fastest he was this morning, well over half a second in arrears though he was of Quartararo on the factory Yamaha, 157.822. The best work from Pecco this morning, who has yet to trouble the point scoring places in 2 previous sprints here at the British Grand Prix. Desperate to find some form, desperate to find some feeling on the factory Ducati, and thankfully looking relatively okay. He'll be a little bit battered and bruised under those BK8 Gresini Racing leathers, because Alex Marquez, second fastest in Q2 this morning, but it wasn't without its issues at Lewis.
Alex Marquez going down right at the start of the day in a high side coming out of Stoke Corner. That was in free practice too, as he was perhaps a little bit impatient to try and get past some Chantra, but recovered from that despite, of course, not only having a damage to his motorcycle, but a damage to his confidence with that crash in free practice too, to put it on the front row of the grid. And many are looking at Alex Marquez, including his brother Mark. Many are looking at younger brother Alex as the favourite, not just for this afternoon, but potentially for tomorrow's 20-lap British Grand Prix. Marquez, the older, has got some overtaking to do if he's to keep up his unbeaten sprint record this year.
Yeah, bar Fabio Quartararo in Jerez briefly, and then in Le Mans briefly. Marc Marquez has been totally and utterly dominant in our sprint so far in 2025. He brings into this 10-lap sprint here in Silverstone with an unblemished Saturday afternoon record so far in 2025. And you have to say, even though he is 4th on the grid, he remains one of the ones to watch without any shadow of a doubt, as Ducati go in search of their 21st successive sprint victory. Of course, their almost all-time record-breaking winning streak. They were going for 23 successive Grand Prix victories last time out in Le Mans, before Johann Zarco gate crashed the party and instigated one of the biggest parties we've ever seen in French motorsport after that stunning, nail-biting and tense victory in front of his home crowd. Now, this has been a recent social media post on his Insta feed from Jorge Martin. Happy and grateful to be back training. This is Andorra. I'll give you my side of the story soon. Some rather telling words. Of course, Jorge Martin not here, still sidelined after his serious lung and rib injuries he picked up on his return to action in Qatar. Well, he's making a lot of headlines off circuit right now as the Martinator, because there's been lots and lots of gossip and speculation that he may well be parting company with Aprilia at the end of the season. Everybody has had their 2 pennies worth on the situation, but Jorge Martin back in training, which is great to see, back cycling in the Andorra Mountains, and as you saw there, he will have his say on the situation very, very soon. Can't wait. I'm
sure someone will have a microphone in front of his face at the first available opportunity, as our own Jack Appleyard, who's down in pit lane. Now, the British weather, of course, is a focus of all of our attention to see what kind of sprint conditions we're in store for. Jack, what's the latest?
Yeah, fortunately, it is going to be dry, or at least I think it's going to be. There's no indication that the rain is going to come, but the wind is going to play a big, big role in this one, guys. It is so much stronger than what it was this morning, and this morning it was even stronger than what we had yesterday. It is very, very blustery on the start-finish straight at the moment. A tailwind, for the guys to try and contend with. They're going to have to be careful out there because this wind is very, very strong.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack. Let's just hope that it does stay dry. There are a few people saying that maybe we'd get rain around 3 p.m. local time, and we've passed that mark. as we look at Frankie Morbidelli. He goes from the head of row 4, at least head of row 4 in this sprint, qualified 10th for VR46 racing, did Frankie. But if you were with us yesterday, balking Marco Bezzecchi in the afternoon action for tomorrow's main Grand Prix, over 20 laps here at Silverstone, he will drop back 3 places on the grid. That the resulting penalty from the F1 MotoGP stewards for his little indiscretion with his best mate Bez.
Yeah, got in his way yesterday afternoon in practice. Here's one of your top performers, I guess, from qualifying earlier on today, Luca Marini, to get out of qualifying 1 and go through ultimately to the middle of the 3rd row in 8th place. Actually, an unwitting assist from his teammate Joan Mir during qualifying 1, when Mir was running ahead of Luca Marini, essentially towed Marini up into qualifying 2, and Marini took full advantage of that promotion to take 8th place on the grid. He is your top Honda qualifier, with 2 of them, including of course French Grand Prix winner Joan Zarco, on that 3rd row.
Only the 2nd time in his spell at Honda, actually, the 27-year-old Italian has qualified inside that top 10. Good jobs all round, weren't there? We just saw there Jack Miller on screens on what was an excellent weekend so far for Yamaha. 3 bikes directly into Q2 yesterday afternoon for the first time since Valencia in 2021. And Jack Miller making good on some obvious promising potential here this weekend. The 30-year-old Australian, his best qualifying, he goes from 6th place for Prima Pramac Yamaha, his best qualifying since his M1 debut when he started 4th at the Chang International Circuit in Buram, right at the back end of February, early March, which feels like a long time ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah, as we now arrive on this May bank holiday weekend, of course, for the new date this year for the British Grand Prix. But as you saw there in the grandstands, we do have many of the Brits in the grandstand in T-shirts. This counts as a lovely sunny day for many of us in the UK, even though we have had some unseasonably warm weather earlier on in the month of May. But true to form, as the British Grand Prix rolls around, the temperatures drops and the sun drops behind the clouds. Jack Miller has really stood up this weekend, hasn't he, on board that Prima Pramac Yamaha. At one stage in qualifying 2 earlier on today, we were set for an all Yamaha front row. Quartararo, Miller and Rins were all in the top 3 early on in qualifying. Miller did at least hold on to a place on the 2nd row of the grid, making full use of the recent updates brought to that Yamaha M1, which are increasing its incredible turning ability. Miller, I guess, with very little to lose in this upcoming sprint.
Well, we know that he knows this Silverstone circuit very well from his Formula 1 management days. Let's go down into pit lane. Always interesting to get the thoughts of a MotoGP fan, Gunther Steiner, who joins Jack.
Yeah, he does indeed. Great to have Gunther down on the grid with us. I'm sure you had the option today between Monaco and Silverstone, and I have to say, you made the right choice, Gunther.
Oh, I think I made the right choice. Otherwise, I've taken the other ones. No, I was in Imola, and I will be in Spain, but I left Monaco where it is because, you know, I like MotoGP. I was in Austin, and I was in England for my book tour, so I said, I stay here. I'm not going to Monaco, you know. I'm not working in Monaco. I have a weekend off, unfortunately, without my family because they're in the States, but no, it's always good to be around. I've got a lot of friends here. It's always good to come and see them.
As you said, you're making a bit of a habit of this. We saw you in Austin, now here for round 7. What have you made of this the season so far, and what do you think we might see unfold here today?
I think it's a very interesting season. Again, you know, the Yamaha now is seems to be up there. You know, a big puts the fight to the Ducatis, which is always good. You know, and riders. I mean, Marc Marquez, obviously, he's the Max Verstappen of MotoGP, you know, call it like this. He can do magic with the bike, but no, it's always very interesting what is happening, and you never really know what is happening. And now, I don't know what the weather is doing. It doesn't seem to be raining anymore, but anyway, that normally throws a curveball in. But anyway, no, it's always very exciting. I was out on the racetrack today watching them in the corners. They are nuts.
It's fantastic, and for me always the noise is something that is very difficult to describe compared to what we see with Formula 1. What do you think stands out to you when it gets compared with what we see on 4 wheels?
I think they're both, it's racing at its highest level. One is the highest racing with cars, which is Formula 1. This is the highest racing for motorbikes. So they both, I mean, I don't compare them. I like them both, you know. It's something anybody should look them at both. It's not like it's some people watch football or soccer like it's called in America, and some watch NFL. You can watch both. It's both interesting, you know. So it's the same here. For me, it's just motorsport at the highest level.
Well, it's great to see you here. Enjoy the day.
Thank you, same to you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. We always love having former Haas Formula One boss Gunther Steiner on site. As he said, these guys are nuts. It was a nuts lap, wasn't it, from Fabio Quartararo in qualifying this morning as he heads out on circuit, chasing what would be just a second ever sprint podium. He's gone almost 2 years without a podium in the sprint format, as Quartararo. Assen back in 2023, and that sort of fell into his lap as well when there was a late last lap track infringement for Brad Binder. So then the field piled out of pit lane. A somewhat depleted field. If you're joining us for the first time this weekend, we were hoping to have a 23-strong lineup for this British Grand Prix weekend. Sadly, that is now missing the unfortunate Trackhouse Aprilia rider Aya Gura, who withdrew from the action this morning. Lewis, a big crash for Agura-san yesterday, going through turn 2 at the farm curb in the morning session. Sat out yesterday afternoon. We were hoping to see him back in action this morning. That was not the case, and now we've got everything crossed that he'll be fit enough to ride in Aragon in 2 weeks' time.
A possible broken tibia for Ayagura. Not confirmed. They'll of course confirm that when he goes under for some checks in Spain. He'll be returning home to Barcelona to have those checks. We do wish Ayagura all the very best. So that does leave us with a grid of 22 for this afternoon's Tissot Sprint, led by that man, Fabio Quartararo. And you feel like he's got more of a fighting chance in this sprint than in the previous 2 that he started from pole position on. The Yamahas as a collective have all been super competitive this weekend. It was generally Quartararo fighting a lone battle for the M1s in Jerez and in Le Mans, but with Miller up there, with Alex Rins competitive and into Q2 as well, and Miguel Oliveira nearly joined them in practice yesterday. The Yamaha looks much more of a match for Ducati than it's been at any stage, but can Quartararo snap the Ducati winning sprint streak?
5.9 kilometres this Silverstone circuit, and it means it's very fuel thirsty, even over the short format of the sprints. I think you've got the Red Bull Ring in Austria, you've got the Twin Ring Motegi in Japan, and Sepang in Malaysia. Tracks where the riders spend their most time at full throttle when they're in race action, and that's why we're in fuel save mode here for the 10-lap sprint. Well, we're getting the full spectrum of sporting stars here, aren't we, this weekend? I'm delighted to say England Rugby Union star Marcus Smith joins Jack down on the grid.
Yeah, he does indeed, here with our title sponsors Tissot as well. Marcus is used to having big South Africans and New Zealanders run at him at pace. What would you rather, that or jumping on one of these MotoGP bikes?
Watching here today, the MotoGP bikes are pretty crazy, to be honest. Even trying the little simulation up there, it was throwing my body around left, right and centre, so I'd much rather be on a rugby field.
I can imagine. What do you make of the experience so far then? I imagine it's your first time here.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience. It's an amazing track. Tissot have done a great job in all the branding, and seeing the riders throw themselves about around this track is exhilarating for me, and I can't even imagine what it feels like to be riding the bikes. The noise of it as well. Yeah, it's a pretty special experience. Very different to the sport I play, but yeah, a lot of showbiz about it as well. I enjoy it.
It's great to see you here. Enjoy the day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, fantastic to hear from Marcus Smith. Plays at fly half for Premiership Rugby Club Harlequins. So we welcome some new fans to MotoGP. Let's hope they are going to be served up a special Silverstone treat over 10 laps in this sprint as Fabio Quartararo completes the sighting lap at the slowest possible pace, as he mentioned. The fast and flowing nature of this Silverstone circuit does mean it is very demanding. High tyre consumption, higher fuel consumption as well, so plenty for the riders to contend with around what is a near on 6-kilometre layout, the longest circuit on our 22-round Grand Prix schedule.
So an unusual situation and sort of scenario for Marc Marquez, certainly not something he's faced so far this year. He had to come in at the end of qualifying 2 this afternoon and not pull up in Parc Fermé, which was a first for him this season, off the front row of the grid for the first time in 2025. He did say yesterday he was perhaps struggling in the right-hand corners a little bit more than he was in Qatar, another circuit earlier on in the season where he's not got the greatest winning record historically. Like Qatar prior to this year, of course, he had just the 1 victory victory there until 2025. Just the one victory here for the World Championship leader. Unbeaten, of course, in the sprint, as we've already mentioned so far this season. Without question, he is going to have to do some overtaking if he's to make it a magnificent 7th this afternoon.
He has led 100 laps so far this season, Marc Marquez. The majority of them have come in the sprint form. Here's your front row of the grid then. It's Fabio Quartararo, Alex Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia. No great surprise to see them all on the soft front, soft rear mixing options. Marc Marquez off the front row for the first time since Sepang last year. Then you've got Aldeguer and Miller joining him on that second row. Row 3, the Gian Antonio, Marini and Zarco. Hard to think that anybody's going to be deviating from the soft front, soft rear combination. Row 5 led by Frankie Morbidelli,
who will, of course, drop a row tomorrow, but does at least get a chance to start from 10th today. Bezzecchi and Rins alongside him. Joan Mir, Pedro Acosta, top KTM in 14th, and Miguel Oliveira on row 5. Ralph Fernandez, the sole Trackhouse Aprilia, 16th. He's gone for the medium front tyre, it would appear, from our current information. And there, Bastianini and Maverick Vinales, who had bike problems in Q1, 18th. He has the pace to go forward from there. Brad Binder, Lorenzo Savadori, Alessio Spargo and Somkiat Chantra complete your grid.
Well, I'm sure Alex Marquez is feeling a little bit sore than what he was when he woke up this morning at Silverstone after that hefty old crash at turn 15 in FP2. Didn't knock him out of his stride too much in qualifying. Second on the grid, and Fermin Aldeguer, the rookie sensation, delivering once again, middle of the second row. What are the thoughts of their boss, Michele Massini, who joins Jack?
Yeah, a lot of question marks coming into this one. Alex with the crash this morning, I'm sure he's a little bit sore. He also said in Parc Fermé he doesn't feel he's done the work on the soft tyre compared to the medium, and for me, I imagine he's just filled with confidence, Michele, after the double podium last time out. Just give us your thoughts ahead of the sprint.
Yeah, also despite after the Alex crashes, I think that we made a good job with both riders, and will be crucial to warming up the front tire during the sighting lap, because it's a bit cold, especially the wind. So I hope to do a great sprint.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Gresini boss Michele Massini. Are we going to see maybe a couple of Gresini bikes on the podium in the next half an hour or so? We just saw there the overtaking hot spots. Turn 3, a very good opportunity into Village Corner. That's where Marc Marquez had a tip-off on the factory Ducati yesterday. Certainly on the brakes at the end of the hanger straight into Stowe Corner at 15, and then down in that little hollow as you approach Vale into turn 16 as well. Ample overtaking opportunities here at the Silverstone circuit.
You can see how windy it is on the main street. You can see the big screen swaying away there. You can see the Yamaha press officer there to the left of Fabio Quartararo, her hair swaying away to see that the wind is picking up. That will be a factor, particularly down the many long straights here. Well, it was a good qualifying earlier on for the factory Honda team. Luca Marini in the middle of row 3. Alberto Puigis with Jack.
Yeah, brilliant performance from Luca this morning to get out of Q1, then put himself in a great position. I'm sure you're really pleased with his work this morning, Alberto. What's possible now from the third row?
Well, third row is third row. It's some place where you can start to think serious for the final result. If he can get a good start and he just, in the first lap, he don't miss positions and he can go with the group, this is a track where you can follow. And I mean, of course, the first lap is always difficult. You have to, I will not say close your eyes, but you have to go a little bit following. And I mean, let's see if the guy has good start. But this is his first time in third row since he's racing with us, so today he has some chances, and yeah, we hope he's lucky.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to HRC boss Alberto Puig. We're very, very sorry to have to interrupt Fabio Quartararo's pre-sprint entertainment very, very shortly, because as you can see there, he's watching qualifying from the Monaco Formula 1 race. We know he's got close connections with Pierre Gasly, very close connection, of course, the monster connections with Lewis Hamilton, but we're going to have to drag him away from the phone, aren't we, very, very soon, because he's got a 10-lap sprint to start from pole position with.
Wasn't Fabio who called for the 1 p.m. start tomorrow, was it, to get it out of the way of the Formula 1, which starts soon after that? Well, either way, Quartararo's seeing some motorsport of a very different kind of environment around the streets of Monte Carlo from the wide sweeping open spaces of Silverstone. But that's whatever process you have. Every rider has their own way of getting themselves in the right frame of mind for a Tito Sprint or a Grand Prix, and Fabio Quartararo, that's clearly keeping him nice and relaxed.
Jack Miller could just do with a solid race, a solid result. No points in the last 3 Grand Prix for the 30-year-old Australian, going all the way back to his excellent 5th in Austin in Texas. Now, what a time it is for the factory Yamaha camp. 3 successive pole positions from the phenomenal Frenchman Fabio Quartararo. 3 Yamahas, of course, are directly through to Q2, so big progress being made on and off the track by the Iwata factory. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Paolo Pavesio, who joins Jack.
Yeah, quite right, Bert. It's been some weekend so far for Yamaha. The progress that they've been making is evident this weekend. It's a question everyone wants to know, Paolo. That victory, that podium is getting closer and closer. Is today going to be the day?
The podium, we know already how it feels, and that day will come sooner or later. We cannot say it before. We work to be ready, and I'm super happy to see Fabio on the first let's say position once more, 3 races in a row. This is fantastic, and we don't need to take it for granted about the result we are getting. But also I'm super happy to see Jack in 2nd row. Alex had for sure better potential than what we have seen, so the package is growing.
2 weeks ago we saw Fabio get the whole shot and try to go from the very start, and the tyre started to drop. Do you think we'll see something similar today, or maybe different tactics?
No, it's all about learning by doing, and growing the package and learning how to exploit. I think the sprint is a bit different than the long race. We've seen what you described in a long race. I think the target is to be with the front group, and then when you are there in the last laps, we see.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Always look forward to a chat from new Yamaha boss Paolo Pavesio. And so many key figures involved with the Iwata factory who have done such great work in transforming the fortunes of that YZR M1. I mean, at times last year it would have seemed pure fantasy, absolutely fanciful, wouldn't it, for Fabio Quartararo to be even thinking about 3 successive pole positions. That's exactly where he's at, though. There you can see the Pecco Bagnaia 63 flag getting a right old buffeting, isn't it, from the wind that's howling around this vast motorsport complex, the iconic and historic Silverstone circuit. There is Luca Marini on the factory Honda, only once previously on top of that RC213V, as Marini qualified higher than his 8th place here. That was a 7th in round 3 in Austin, Texas. So what can Luca Marini do? Is it maybe a bit far-fetched to think he'll be adding to his 4 previous sprint podiums? Of course, his last in Qatar 2023, where he was on board the VR46 Ducati. 5 minutes then until we're underway. Over 10 laps of sprint action here at Silverstone. Fabio Quartararo on pole position for the 19th time in MotoGP, 22nd of his Grand Prix career. Your front row, though, 3rd place, just his 3rd front row in 7 so far in 2025, is former world champion Pecco Bagnaia in the factory Ducati. Alex Marquez 2nd in every single sprint so far this season. He fires away from 2nd, but for the 3rd race in a row, well, he has been the formidable and flying Frenchman in Q2 of late. Fabio Quartararo, your British GP pole starter.